And there's a lot of struggle. Naming the data, 82% of coaches, the data says, close their doors before the end of year two. And only 5% of coaches are able to make a living doing this work. So when I meet coaches, I know that the very first step I need to support them with is to shift from coach to CEO.
You are listening to Amplify Your Success Podcast, episode 486. And today, let's talk about why you and why knowing this and amplifying this is the key to landing your best clients. You ready for this? Let's get started. Welcome to the Amplify Your Success Podcast. Get ready to ramp up your revenue, amplify your impact, and make your mark in the world. This is the show for experts, thought leaders, and service professionals who want to shatter their limits and achieve that next level. You're going to find out from other experts and influencers how they made it. Now, let's get amplified. Hey there, inspired entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's your host, Melanie Benson, Authority Amplifier and founder of the Rising Tide Collective. And today I am joined by a friend of mine who she coaches differently than I do. And she coaches in a different market than I do. But she is a powerful coach and she specializes in working with organizations. So if you're considering shifting into this marketplace, or this is the kind of work you do, this episode is for you. And if you don't focus on organizations, there are some powerful gems inside. I want you to think, what would it be like if I was masterminding and brainstorming with somebody who was wildly successful in a different marketplace, but had similar skills? What can you pick up from that conversation? That's what this conversation is for you today. Now, before I jump in and introduce our guest, I want to take you into my 7-step framework to becoming unignorable in your marketplace. We're talking about this from a different lens inside organizations today and inside your business, inside your industry, inside your marketplace. You've got to look at why you, and how well do people understand why you. It's one of the 7 key components of my unignorable framework, and it's free for you to download it, review it, assess yourself, and figure out, do my ideal clients really understand why me? And if not, let's make sure we fix it. So you can head over to melaniebenson.com/framework. I'll also link that up in the show notes for you. Now, let me introduce my guest. Welcome back, Amplifiers. I have just an amazing guest today. We're going to have a conversation that I think is so important right now. It's why you, and why you is the game changer when you're landing business with organizations. Our guest today is a powerhouse. She has almost 50 years of experience on all sides of the corporate coaching table. Ann Farrell now leverages it all to lift other coaches and consultants to make a difference and a living directly with organizations. Now, let me give you some high notes of this woman's extraordinary career. 30-year career in a Fortune 200, 20 years in her own leadership development company, where she developed and became known for her partner versus vendor and relationships as the real work of work models, which are really extraordinary. And for the past 17 years, she has licensed other coaches to use her processes and certifies them in her ICF-approved executive coach certification, which I have been involved in ICF in the past. It is no small feat to be able to do that. So, Ann, I'm so excited to welcome you to Amplify Your Success today.
Melanie, I'm so glad to be here with you. I have been a fan of yours for quite a while, and I consider you a true, real deal colleague in this space.
Oh, thank you. Well, I feel the same way about you, and you model such grace and poise, and you have so much power in what you do, and you have such a robust coaching company. It's so amazing to have a strategic partner, if you will, who is dancing in the organizational market, since I really focus on the individual market, but a lot of my clients and our community at large are either pivoting and shifting into working with organizations, or they really want to deepen their work there. So this is a really timely conversation. And you have
Wonderful.
so much experience as a coach. It's always fun to geek out on coaching with another coach, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Well, let's just jump in here with just setting some context. We entered this conversation with why you,
Mhm.
and I want to unpack that a little bit, what you mean by that.
Yeah, thank you for jumping right there. I don't know about you, but all of the advice I've heard ever since I entered the coaching industry in 2005, when I started my training with CTI, all the advice I've heard is that to go do this work in the world, it's not about you, it's about coaching. Well, what that does is set us up, with organizations at least, to land like a vendor. If we lead by talking about coaching and our services, one of the things that we realized very quickly is people aren't looking for coaching. Right? They have needs that they want served, and what they're trying to understand. And I learned this. My last role in my Fortune 200 company was leading HR. So I was responsible for hiring the executive coaches. I love to share that neither me or my team ever asked a coach to tell us about the value of coaching. We knew it. That's why we were looking for coaches. Our question always was why you, as the coach, we should entrust our talent with. And
Mm,
so that's the genesis. We really need for organizations, they highly respect and value our experience, our context. They need to know we know what it takes to be successful in that environment before they entrust their talent with us. And so they need to know first why you, as the person I should be having this conversation with, even.
mm. I think this is a universal truth across any coach to end user, whatever, whether it's an organization or a person or a CEO or whatever your end user is, the person who ends up hiring you, they need to know why you. And so my language, you know, my work around being unignorable, and I think we share a lot of synergy here. My language says there's a little bit of distinguishing yourself and specificity. How does somebody go about that when they're considering working with an organization versus maybe one to one with a coach or sorry, not with a coach, but with an end user?
Yeah, beautiful question. I think the key is to recognize that, I mean, the why you, if we were to sit down and talk about all of your experience, oh my gosh, all of my experience, it can be really interesting conversation, and it may be create a great connection. But unless we're connecting our experience directly to the needs that organizations are looking to invest in, it can almost be a distraction. So when we're looking to speak to individuals, yes, we want to understand what the individual need is, how we would support them for success, for what goals they have. When we're speaking to organizations, it's understanding that they have a lot of needs and they have a lot of individuals. And so it really is, I like to talk, I know a lot of the market is all about niching down. When you want to land business with organizations, the goal is to actually partner up by talking about all of the needs that you understand and connect with. And so that whole mentality of looking at ourselves through the view of the meta view of everything we've done. So therefore, what is the meta context we bring? Your model of amplifying authority. It's really more about authority versus just the specific details of everything that we've ever done.
Mm-mm.
Does that make sense?
That's a powerful distinction, by the way.
Power up, partner up instead of niche down. Yes, please, for organizations. That makes such a difference.
Well, my brain is exploding with a million questions because partly because I came out of a Fortune 100 company. I do remember a lot about how they made buying decisions and how, you know, their buying cycles are different in a lot of ways than the B2C market, which is direct to consumer. But I'm just curious, you work with a lot of coaches. and you've been certifying coaches. You're ICF certified, which is International Coach Federation for someone who may not be familiar with that title.
Thank you.
What do you see happening right now with coaches who want to work with corporations but are struggling to really make it happen?
And there's a lot of struggle. Naming the data, 82% of coaches, the data says, close their doors before the end of year two. And only 5% of coaches are able to make a living doing this work. So when I meet coaches, I know that the very first step I need to support them with is to shift from coach to CEO. Because as the CEO of their business, their struggle looks different. Their struggle looks noticing that of the 5% of coaches who are making a living doing this work, almost all of them are doing so with organizations. Noticing that the strategies we hear that work to land individual clients don't work, and many of the pieces are the opposite of what works to land business with organizations. So it's really promoting them to get out of viewing themselves as the conduit of coaching, which is a skill versus a business, to really step into the CEO role, not as they see other people's CEO, but the authentic, genuine CEO that is them at their best, looking at things from that perspective. That's the very first step. Then we can see a lot of things that shift versus entering conversations talking about coaching.
That's such a amazing shift in perspective. And I know early in my career, coming out of corporate where everything was basically handed to you and you just did the work that you were told to do, basically. And then moving into being completely self-reliant, but only having the coach training that I received from my coaching company.
Yeah.
I know that was a hard shift for me to make because I identified as a coach with the lens of employee, right? Like
Right.
I had employee
That,
thinking, but now I'm a coach, but that wasn't going to make my business successful. And it really was shifting gears into I own this business. I need to think like a CEO that radically recalibrated my mindset. What do you think that shift does to the clients that you work with when they embrace I'm a CEO? Like what's the real like I thought like this and now I think like this and this is why it's working differently.
yeah, and I love that when that spark goes off and they actually get it, you can see it. You can so see it. One of my group programs, it's one of the things that we do in one of the very first weeks, and I get to watch on the Zoom screen all these people like, yes. I think the first step in that what shifts is recognizing that coaching for us is like the pen to a writer or a paintbrush to an artist. And so they get to like put down that is the only thing they're going into the market with, which would make them very new at something, very early into something, and puts them in a seat of very low confidence, a sense of low capability. Oh, I'm just learning this. I only have so many clients. To actually instantly seeing them promote themselves to their full capability of, oh my gosh, of course I'm the CEO of my business. They recognize how all the resources, coaching included, that they have access to that enables, I like to say that like their business might be new, but they're not. They're not. And so that just takes them out of newbie going into new market to, I got this. There's a whole lot I understand about being the CEO of my business. And a lot of cool things, like I get to choose to only work with people that I love. I mean, it's when we start to celebrate. So now that you're made this shift, what are the benefits for you? What can you see from this place? And it's all different.
What I'm hearing in there, there's a lot of agency when we move from I'm a coach to I am the CEO and I own this business. There's a level of agency we adopt about making choices and setting direction rather than feeling like things are coming to us. We are setting the tone.
Exactly. Exactly.
Love that. I love that. We're going to throw around a few more catchphrases here before we're done today, I have a feeling. Well, and speaking of catchphrases, I mean, here's something that's kind of rumbling around in my mind because, there's a lot of conversation about AI and in my, B2C market where, we are coaching businesses, we are consulting business service businesses, and we support, the end user, somebody who's looking for those services. AI is radically transforming how people decide on and really filtering the need level. And I'm curious, are you seeing an impact in how your coaches or even in your business, how your organizations are looking at the needs they have for a coach or the needs they have for their organization through the lens of AI?
Yeah, I think that, and I've had a lot of conversations with this, not just with coaches, but also all of the CHR, the people officers in my community as well. What's happening is AI coaches and many of the organizations that I support have adopted them. AI coach enables there to be what I call commoditized coaching or walk-up coaching that made available to everyone. They also recognize that that is a different level of ROI, a different level of outcome that comes from that. Even before AI coaching, with coaching platforms, I would have CHROs say to me, one of my favorite quotes is, "And we thought coaching was coaching, but the outcomes we get from using these platforms or other coaches are nothing like the outcomes we get with you." I think the key is to recognize that coaching and AI can come from here really well, and they can support thought process. And oh my gosh, if you've ever worked with any of the chat agents, you'll know how reinforcing and positive they are. And everything we say is like the most brilliant thing they've ever heard. There's no pushback. The beautiful thing of the kind of coaching that I support coaches to do for organizations, one, it shifts from just focusing on the client's success to focusing on the client's success inside the system in which they're seeking success. So I bring up system because it's that systemic, whole human lens, the relationships, the how influential are they, what are the health of the relationships around them, that really empower and level up the outcomes from the coaching that we get to do with them as leaders versus what they'll get from AI or even from walk-up coaching. The whole engagement process is engaging with the systems, all for the benefit of the client. And so it's a different kind of experience, and that is not AI based.
Hmm. Yeah, that's well said. And I think this conversation about AI and many of the services that we're used to from humans, I feel like there's this massive pendulum swing that's going to happen. The pendulum's going to swing way out. And then people are going to go, yeah, I miss this. Like, I miss the human conversation. I miss human connection. I miss the lens that only a human can bring, right? And so I think we're going to see a little bit of that pendulum swinging back into a deep need for a human to participate in the coaching experience.
Exactly. One of the best quotes I've heard from a CEO about AI, it was in an article. I can't quote who said it now, but it was AI will not replace humans. AI will replace humans who aren't AI open.
Ooh,
I
well
know.
said. Now
Isn't that
we'll
cool?
probably have to research that and find out who said that because
I'll have to
that's
figure out where I
good.
found that. But it's like, oh my God, that's it. That's it. We can't deny it's here. It is here and it's here to stay. It's how we use it to augment what we do as humans as opposed to replace humans.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole conversation itself. My brain wants to
It
go on
is.
that tentacle, but no, I have other things I want to cover with you. So
Okay.
stay the course, Melanie. I want to talk about something that comes up a lot with clients of mine who are organization focused.
Mhm.
And one of them is really looking at like, how do we land these opportunities? And this goes back to, I think there's the why you, but I think it's even more fundamental. It's like, well, how do we even source these opportunities and get in front of people who are looking for coaching inside their organizations?
That's a great question. There's actually like three gaps we leave our coach training with. The first one we've touched on, and that is who and how we be. And so We've just talked about we need to be the CEO. We need to recognize we're not selling coaching, so we're not landing as vendors. How to land it is exactly that. Number one, don't land as a vendor. No organization wants another vendor. But what they are eager to always find are partners who can help them to address their complex needs. So, how to land this work with organizations is 95% of it is placed through relationships. Not online, not through posting on social media, not doing the kind of things that are so easy behind our computer screen. I'm an introvert. I could sit behind my computer screen all day long. I won't land any business. It's about being in live connection with other humans, building relationships, and to accelerate the success of our business, starting with the relationships we already have. So again, to that point of our business may be new, but we're not. I walked out of corporate in 2006. I'm like, oh my God, now I have to find clients. And the first thing I experienced were shoulder taps. Oh, wow, you're leaving, you're going to go do that? Well, come do that with us. And so my business all these 20 years has been through relationships that I built in the 30 years that I was in my organization. They move around, and when they move around and go to new places, the best thing that LinkedIn can help us with is understanding the relationships of people that we really enjoyed working with. Where are they now? Where are they now? They won't be in the same place that they were when we worked with them. And it's a way that helps us be brought into places that we never expected. Like for me, lots of supporting lots of nursing colleges and universities, as well as the Chicago Cubs on their way to winning their first World Series in 100 years. That was all relationships from people who were where I was, who went to those places. So powerful.
I love that. I guess one other thing that's kind of jumping into my mind
Yeah.
is, we've got somebody who is trying to be relevant, to be needed, to be recognized that they're a great coach for this organization. They're moving through the process. But what advice would you give to somebody who is maybe a smaller organization, a smaller coaching company, and they're going up against a huge organization? And I think this is where we wrap back in this why you, right? Like, what's the why you that makes them the better choice against a bigger organization that so many people go up against?
I love that question. And first, we have to know that we have to be able to match or better the other organization's outcomes. So there's a gap between one-on-one coaching only and the full needs of organizations. And we have to have what we need to close that gap. And that's what my ICF program is about. Getting all of the rest of the components that really up level our coaching to meet all of their needs. And then we get to go have conversations that say, I deliver at the same, if not greater, high value level because my business, my approach is one size fits one, but with like little to no overhead. So would you rather invest in overhead or outcomes? The ROI is significantly higher for small boutique firms when they deliver at the same level of or higher outcomes than those big firms. So it's actually pretty easy to get a value proposition that makes sense for organizations.
Well, and this is such a great reframe for many people who get a little anxious. I know many years ago, I had a client who she was focusing on organizations and she kept getting in her head when she would hear that, oh my gosh, there's this multi-million dollar company going for the same business as me. Why would they choose me? And I love the advice you're giving that it's like, again, map it back to the value proposition and what can only you do that they can't. ROI. It's brilliant. And I'm assuming there's a bit of the really understanding what the needs are that that company has and where you map more efficiently and effectively to those needs than the bigger corporation.
Those big corporations are wonderful in their power, but their processes are still one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they scale their overhead. When we go in with an approach that's one size fits one, it makes organizations and the needs feel more seen, not only more supported, and it does elevate the results.
Yeah, well said. Well, speaking of needs, I know
Mhm.
you've put together a really unique resource for the Amplify community. And this would be, in my opinion, a valuable resource no matter what kind of coaching you do and who your ideal client is. But tell us a little bit about this resource you put together for the community.
Thank you. Thank you. Melly, I had fun doing this and leaning into too, your model of authority and amplifying it, getting really clear about all of the different things that organizations invest in so that we can amplify our authority up to how many of those we actually are capable of serving in our one size fits one way. So I put together a list of the 101 needs that organizations are investing in today.
Mm.
On there are like there's 90 that are pretty standard and are traditional, and there's also the 11 that are high urgent and emergence right now in today's market.
Mm.
So it's right available in I'm sure we'll post the link, but it's tinyurl.com/101 needs.
Yeah, and we will link that up in the show notes so you have it handy and you can just
Cool.
click on it.
Just click on it. It also gives you the first 3 steps of getting really clear about how you connect your authority with the needs that they have.
Yeah, that's great. Is there ever a time when somebody might not pursue a opportunity with an organization because they're seeing the needs don't necessarily match their authority or their capacity and capability?
Yeah, I think that based on where we've been, there are probably, and what our experience has been, there are probably organizations where we're a great fit for that others are not. So I've never worked inside of a family business, but I know coaches who have that's been where they spent their last 30 years, and they are brilliant coaches for those organizations. Those organizations, people in those organizations feel like you get us. So I invite coaches, pay attention to where you've been. And those organizations who are the ones who will appreciate the fact that you get them too. And feeling seen and trusted is a big part of the way in to do this great work.
That is a perfect transition to some of my wrap up questions because I think we miss that sometimes is in our hurry to get chosen. We need to remember it's all about being trusted.
All
Do they
about
trust you? Do they trust your ability to deliver on the outcome? That's the biggest buying filter that I see right now.
exactly. Exactly.
Well, I like to have kind of a little bit more of that humanity conversation. You are such a unique force in the coaching industry, at least from the coaches that I know and connect with regularly. And one of the things I always love asking people is, what is the ripple you want to make in the world?
Mm, I love that. I used to answer that question. I just want there to be more great coaching in the world because I know the power of it. And the high value coaching that we do and deliver for organizations, the more they'll invest in. But what's really struck me these last 5 years when I've shifted my business from 95% corporate, 5% coaches to the opposite, 95% coaches, 5% organizations is the the opportunity to help individuals, women, men, to create a viable business that can afford them the freedom to be who they want to be in the world without having to get another job. But it's like game changing and life changing. And Melanie, now I've got 50 years of work in me. And my husband's like, well, so when are you going to retire? And I decided this is my retirement. It's not retirement, it's inspirement. As long as I can help another person be able to make a living like I've gotten to, I'm in. I'm in. So that's what keeps me going is I make a list at the end of every day of the names of the people that I was able to help. And
I
it
love
gets me all
that.
excited about who that might be the next day.
Inspirement. I think those of us that are here to do work that's so much bigger than what shows up in our bank account, I think we really relate to this, right? It's like, yes, that is the reward. That's the outcome we're looking for. And it should be, but it's the inspirement, the ability to inspire people and give them a possibility that they wouldn't have if we didn't show up every day. I love that.
Mhm.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
If you look back to like when you started this career path and you probably had to make some big bold decisions along the way, what would you say was the boldest decision that took you the longest to make but had the biggest impact once you did?
Thank you. Well, that's easy. Um, 10 years before I left my corporate world, after all of the work to get to where I got to, 10 years before that, I had my son. And I knew in that moment that I would leave the world as soon as I could, breadwinner, pension, all that kind of stuff, so that I could be there more for him in the way I wanted to be. And so it was like 10 years to the day when I walked out. It was so scary. It was a big, I mean, it was the big trust in me that I was going to be able to still take care of our family financially. And so the thing I did, hilarious, like, yes, Ann, you've got this. As soon as I left, no longer on salary, I went and bought my husband the most beautiful grand piano as like a nod to money will not be scarce.
Mm.
It will not be scarce. And so that's still in our living room here. It's the first thing we moved into a new house. And we moved down to South Carolina. And it's like a reminder every single day to just, we've all got this. Don't let fear and scarcity get in the way.
Yeah. And it's sometimes easy to let those thoughts creep in, especially when things aren't lining up the way you think they're supposed to look. But having these symbols of prosperity and abundance and recognizing that we do have the capacity inside of us, it's realigning back into whatever you need to make that happen for you, like the right coach, the right training, the right system. And Anne, you certainly are doing that for people who are working and wanting to claim more work in the organization world. So thank you so much for bringing your magic to the show today.
Thank you for having me, Melanie. This has been fun. I could talk to you for a very long time, sweetheart.
All right, well, we're going to have to make that happen one day.
I love it.
Oh, well, and as you're listening in, make sure that you grab this really powerful resource that was created just for us today. And I want to acknowledge Anne for following the steps in my 17 mistakes that guest experts make. And she was like, I am showing up with the best possible resources for you. And I love that so much. And I want you to go download it. And if you know somebody who is working with organizations, be sure to share it with them, have them go grab a copy for themselves. So, Anne, thank you so much.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thanks for tuning in today, Amplifier. We're going to keep this conversation going, and I want to hear from you how you're going to amplify your authority and make a greater impact. Before you go, please take a minute to give our show and our guests some love over on your favorite podcasting platform. Subscribe, rate, and review. Leave your full name, and I'll spotlight you and your authority on social media.